Hello and welcome back to the ministry, and we're on part 2 of part 3. I don't know how keeps happening, but so here we are. This is an imperative part and it's going to get deep. I need you to follow me. I need you to come with me on this one. So what happens now is he wanted to do a photo shoot with her, and he took her into town. They took all the pictures, all of this. Now, a few days before, when she gave him the gift, she said, "You're a great photographer. You need to take the time to focus on your craft. You could really do something with this. Your God ordained spouse has been seeking somebody that will tell them or encourage them with almost like giving them the permission to be and fully walk and step into the things in which they desire to step into for a long time. You're supposed to do that. The counterfeit touches on it. See, it's so good. I was literally, when I took a break from you guys, because I had an interruption, I've been watching ministry between coming back on here. And the Lord had led me to another video after I finished watching the one about the men. And this is like so relevant right now. I'm going to get into it. So what happens is the woman has created a level of comfort with this man. He's willing to open up. He's talking with her. They're walking back to his place, so on and so forth. And he's just on cloud nine, just talking to her about his photography and all of this. And she's giving him advice. Let me tell you something. The man is looking for somebody to give him that advice, that push, that thing. He's been seeking that. And respects what he does. Just like we seek respect for the things that we put our hands to, they're seeking respect from their partner for the things that they put their hands to. Those little things get to their heart. It gets to their heart. And he's starting to feel for her because she's respecting his craft, his ambitions, his desires to do and stretch out to do other things. You need to take account what that is for your God ordained spouse. That's how you need to serve him. The problem with the counterfeit is they do it, but they don't really care. Okay? See, and I mentioned the ministry I was just listening to, it was talking about being a controlling person. Subtlety of control. This woman has an element of subtle control. She don't say much, but what she says is enough to control the situation. Okay? She listens to what he has to say. She's not invested in him. What it is, and this is a point that I wanted to make, is that she is listening only up until the point of that conversation. Meaning, in the moment, she's listening like a therapist. A therapist will listen to you while they are standing in front of you, while you are speaking your soul during that 1 hour session. They got so many daggone sessions during that day. They ain't thinking about you past that moment. You understand? So the counterfeit, she ain't thinking about you she ain't thinking about that man past that moment. Meaning he could pour his soul out about whatever it is that he's dealing with. All she has to tune into is, okay, I figured this man out enough that I know that if I tune in just enough, I can scope where he's coming from, summarize what it was that he was saying, and, oh, I know what his problem is. Tell him exactly what his problem is. But because they had sex, his brain's on sex, and he heard her answer, and he's like, oh my God, I'm in love. She's answering my question. And then on top of that, she taps in enough to realize his slight heart desires Delilah, hello, Delilah, rest your head in my lap and tell me your weakness. So, what happens next? She then goes in the house with him, and they start kissing because he think he gonna get some more before she get ready to leave. And his friend's there. What I did not explain to you is his friend and his friend's been going through some stuff because him and his wife were trying to have a baby, and the friend thought something was wrong with him, so him and the wife went to a fertility clinic to check to make sure his sperm was acting right and her eggs were acting right. So he finds out that he got all these sperm, and he's jocking himself up talking about, yeah, I got 19 trillion zillion sperm or whatever it is. And his wife get mad at him and say, you gonna sleep on the couch, don't even come home tonight. Blah, blah, blah. And so that's why he at his house. And his friend's there, and he's like, my wife kicked me out. And he's like, you're over here? And he's like, how did you get here? He's like, you gave me a key. He's like, I gave you a key 2 years ago. Why are you in my house? He's like, I still had your key. He's like, I gave you the key to watch my iguana, which to my recollection, I haven't seen that iguana in 2 years. Where's he? He's like, I'm sure it's in here somewhere. And she's saying that, looks like you got something going on, so I'm gonna go. So she leaves. And once she leaves, they go out and sit on the back near the pool and start drinking. And he talking about his wife, and he just sitting there listening, and he starts to give him advice, the guy that was married, advice about love and relationship. And the guy who's married is like, wait a minute, it's not you giving me love advice. Excuse me. He's like, not you giving me love advice. What? Are you telling me you got some emotions up under there? He's like, don't get happy about it, but I might have a +1 to the wedding. And he's like, oh, okay. I see you. He's like, come on, we got to get ready to go tomorrow because we got to go do the fitting. Get ready. Here's the culmination. And this is a culmination for multiple reasons. Watch what I'm going to explain to you. Lord, give me the words, because I feel it in my spirit. We about to have a shanana breakthrough right here. So, next day, it literally picks up with them at the bridal location trying on their tuxes. The guy's sitting in one room trying on their tux fitting, while there's another room that they save for women to try on theirs. Now he's sitting there trying to try on his jacket, but he can't really get, I don't know whether it's the lighting in the room or what, but he can't really see what he wants to see. So they said, oh, is there another mirror? And he's like, it's on in the other room. So he goes into the other room to check in that mirror, and it's more light in that area than it was in the area that he was with his friends. So he goes and he's looking at it. He's like, yeah, I like this. Meanwhile, there's some ladies in there. 2 ladies are nearby where he's at with the mirror. And they say, oh, you look so amazing. You got on this tuxedo. You look amazing. I'm sure your wife is going to be so happy to see you in that. And he said, I'm not the one getting married, but thank you. And they're like, yeah. And then they turn their attention back over to the woman that they came there with. And because she comes out in the dress, and they're like, oh my God, you look so amazing. And he didn't turn immediately to go pay that any attention until he heard the voice. The woman starts talking to the other women nearby where she's standing, and he immediately recognizes, wait, that sounds like Ava. He turns around, and lo and behold, the person standing on the pedestal trying on the wedding dress is Ava, the woman he's been sleeping with all this time. Here we go. I wanted to address first the juxtaposition here. This man has never given his heart to a relationship, and he was starting to fall for her. He's standing there in a tux. She's standing there in a wedding dress. He's coming to an understanding in this moment. She's not his woman, because he sees very clearly that she has a huge rock on her left finger that he's never seen before. And she looks embarrassed right now because of it. And the point that is to be made is the juxtaposition. He was coming to a point where he was coming to the realization that he wanted a long-term relationship. And he was coming to a point that he was starting to feel love and fall in love. Because he loved hard, he did not allow himself to get connected in relationships. He did not allow himself to get connected in relationships. And I'm going to use an example that somebody told me recently. The person will sometimes, if you have a problem connecting in relationships, you will push the people away that are closest to you. You will only allow them close enough to you to get within a certain centimeter circle around you. If you allow them in, let's say you have an inner court, an outer court, an external court, and so on and so forth with your boundaries. A particular person may allow people into that inner court. For this man, his inner court is, I'll sleep with you. Or shall I say, that's the outer court. He'll sleep with him. This inner court is, I'm talking to you. But that last level of inner court is the heart. He was starting to allow her into his heart, which brings me back to what I was saying before, two ships passing in the night. She was not coming to stay. She already had a trajectory, and you now know what it is. Her trajectory was marriage. She knew he wasn't marriage material, so she's going in the direction of marriage. He never was in the direction of marriage, but by entering into a relationship with her, he started to feel like he could look for love, a relationship, and what? Marriage. But the juxtaposition as well is, remember, his parents, the only love relationship he'd ever seen, he saw their love and then he saw their death. We never found out exactly how the parents died. They never explained that. But we just know that the parents died when he was younger. He was the youngest of the two of him and his sister. She was older. So I don't know what happened. They never explained. But his love for his parents and seeing the two of them together affected. He saw love die. Okay? He saw love in great pain. So if he has an attachment to great pain, what? he's going to find a hard time finding an association to love, right? Some of your God ordained spouses have connection with love and pain. Some of them, love caused them pain. So because they loved so hard and were hurt so bad, they have avoided finding what? Love. They can see you, but they can't love on you because of the fact that they were put through what? Pain. But pain thaws out the part in you that loves. How do I know? I know because I've experienced it. What happens when we get hurt in relationships? We turn off our ability to love fully to the capacity that will hurt us. We know how to love to a degree that we will keep the wall up, but we won't allow ourselves to love to the degree that we will be hurt. For the association that the inner court that I was speaking about, if you allow the person in the inner court, they will see your flaws. When they see your flaws, if you allow them to see your flaws, they will then have the ability to speak to you about your flaws. Maturity will allow you to hear what the person is saying about your flaws. Do a check-in understanding. Number one, with God, am I in the right direction, and am I allowing myself to hear what this person is saying? Two, to do a double check of yourself. Am I contaminated? Am I dealing with something? What's wrong with me? Let me check what? Check in with self. So when you see that, it allows your wall to come what? Down. So you can receive. But see, sometimes when God needs to accelerate the process, he got to bring somebody in that's going to be like a battering ram and not just hit that wall. Because see, people will come in. They'll sleep with you. You can talk to them, all that kind of stuff, but they not getting to that level. He needed somebody to pin hit the heart. So this moment pin hit the heart. In that moment, he was faced with his Goliath. He was faced with his Goliath when he saw that woman standing on that bridal pedestal. And in that moment, his heart was broken. And you looked at her face and she knew, I've been caught. I've been caught. I've been caught. She was now taken off of the pedestal that he was preparing to put her on in his mind. And he walks over to her and he says, you look beautiful. Yeah, you really look. Then his friend walks in. The friend that he was with the night before comes and say, hey, how you doing? What's taking? Oh, okay. How you doing? Okay, he don't go no further. They don't really say nothing. It was just the three people in this room know exactly what's going on, but the other ladies that were in there knew nothing. He just said, you look beautiful. I'ma go. And he turned around and he tried to dart out there, and he got to the door, and the person that owned the shop was like, wait, you leaving with the jacket? He snatches the jacket off and tosses it back, and the other guy who was the actual guy getting married, he's like, what the heck just happened? And the friend that walked in the room and saw what happened, he's like, oh, come on. And I'm like, that's so immature of him to take him back in there just to show him what happened. That's imbecilic. Are men really that immature? He could have just told him. He gonna drag him over there so he can see and continually embarrass her. But I will give you this. The counterfeit, the scheme in which she has set up, she will be exposed in the middle of her scheme. I'm seeing Ursula when she pretended to be the human version, which only looked like, she looked identical to Ariel with dark hair. But remember, she was exposed before the wedding. This is the moment of exposure. This is the moment that they get exposed for who they are and what they did. Now, she gets so upset, he goes to the bar and starts drinking his sorrows away. Men, and I learned this while I was listening to He Emotions, men will try to cover up their emotions with substances because they cannot handle them in that moment. So instead of handling them, they start to what? Subdue, protect themselves from what they are feeling in the moment. They can't get rid of it. They cannot deal with it. Which, pause, gets me into this point. Men, we as women, we do this, and this is something that I needed to address, and it's a good thing to know. Men, we have a tendency, we're talkers. We'll talk out our issues. And if the man does not talk, we're like, okay, we just keep talking. And did I not just say that sometimes the men need us to listen? But sometimes a man, we can see a man's problem, but we cannot be so controlling that we must force them into dealing with that emotion when they are not ready. In the ministry I was just looking at, they were talking about elements of control. Sometimes you can do it subtly. You want to talk, but they don't, so you speak in subtle terms, 1 to 3 words, or or whatever, or okay. Those elements, they can tell something's wrong. And depending on the way they were treated, raised, what have you, if they knew somebody that did that to them when they was a kid, they gonna draw back directly to that person, and it's going to bring about a level of trepidation and fear within them that's going to they're going to relive a certain amount of pain. It's going to be a pain point. It's going to be like, oh my God, I got to find out what's wrong with her. What's wrong with her? What's wrong with her? What's wrong with her? Narcissists do this to people all the time. Don't be the narcissist. Don't do this to nobody. Okay? Next, the element of trying to subtly misdirect by directing towards what it is that you want, which is the real issue. Meaning, you got a situation like this. Oh, he ain't never gonna get with nobody, I guess. Don't have to worry about that. He ain't never gonna change. Looks like what he thought was gonna happen again. Speaking death to a situation before it can gain light. You know those people. You know the people in your life, and you know you got people in your life. If a man feels like he's unsecure or unprotected, he ain't gonna talk to you. And if you misdirect him, he may want to speak to you, but if you're subtly misdirecting him with everything that you say when they do open up, or call yourself directly misdirecting, meaning I want them to talk, but I'm going to talk around the subject I want them to talk about in order to paint them in a corner. Don't you do that. Don't do it. I heard this from one of the men in that conversation. Don't pay the man in a corner because he's going to jump out at you. So if the man turn around and bark at you, but some of us as women, we do the subtle thing because it's like, oh, I know if I directly say it to him, then he's gonna bark. So let me subtly say it and leave him with the thought. You ever had known somebody that if you talk to them, I've known many people. I hated people like this, where you subtly say something to them. Well, they suddenly say something to you in order to make you confused. I ain't never met somebody. I met 2-3 people like this actually that sit up there and they will subtly give you a piece of information that leaves it open-ended in order to create a level of confusion within you in order to draw a conclusion that you got to figure out the answer to. I'm sorry, when I'm in a relationship with you, I don't want to have a trigonometry exam every time I'm having a conversation. And no man wants that. Why do I have to put A plus B times C to get X4 over Y? Why? Because you're trying to subtly get them to explain themselves without getting them to explain themselves directly. You understand what I'm saying? That's going to get that man. It's like, oh, I done figured out what you're talking about, so I'm going to subtly try to get away from you anyway. Don't do this. Men, if you back them into a corner, if you ask them too many direct questions, if you notice a man's not speaking to you and they're subtly giving you one-word answers, stop asking questions. They don't want to talk right now because they're trying to gauge what you're trying to do. Don't do that because they see the question and they're not going to answer it. They're going to spin you around until they can get away from you, and then they're going to get away from you. Okay. But then if you rapid fire question them, you're bringing if they don't want to talk, you know what you're doing when you rapid fire question them? You're doing this. This is all the tension that they have been subtly subduing is doing this. It's coming up. It's coming up. It's coming up. If they blow up on you, it's your fault. If they blow up on you, it's your fault. Why am I saying this? Because in the next scene, when she showed up at his house trying to talk, he was like, oh, hey, how you doing? And he drunk. So, and you know what they say? Whatever mindset that you were in before you got drunk, you're going to be even more open to it after you got drunk. He was already mad. So guess what? He going to be even more mad now that he's drunk. And she said, hey, I just wanted, he was like, just wanted to what exactly? I wish you well. Let's just leave it at that. She said, stop it. He lets himself into his apartment. They're in the front vestibule. And she's like, I wanted to come see if you were okay. Why? He's like, why? He said, I thought that we had something going. Listen carefully to the words that I'm about to say out my mouth. He was like, I thought we had something here. I thought we were she said, we were never in love, sir. We were never in love. There was no love here. All we ever had was lust. Mic drop. I'm letting that sit right there. All we ever had was lust. She said, that wasn't nothing. She's like, and he like, then why you here then? She said, I saw that you were upset and I wanted to come check on you.